Welcome to Washington in Focus. I'm Brett Davis. Joining me today is the Center Square's investigative reporter, TJ Martinell. You recently authored a story headlined Attorney General's Office Accused of Playing Favorites in $15 million Contract. It's a bit of a tangled web, but the gist of your investigative piece is a series of complaints were filed last year alleging the Attorney General's office engaged in, quote, unethical and unlawful conduct, unquote, during the selection of a university to create a police use of force database. So who filed this complaint and why did they do that exactly?
Yeah, so the man who filed the complaint, his name is Bob Scales. He's a former King County prosecutor, and he heads up a company called Police Strategies that handles and helps law enforcement agencies with their crime data.
So if I understand the gist of your piece, it appears as if the Washington State University is the university involved here, correct?
Yeah, so effectively what happened is there was Senate Bill 5259 that was passed in 2021, and it tasks the Attorney General's office with engaging in a competitive bidding process to select a private or public university in the state to develop and maintain a public database of police use of force incidents. And I guess the initial problem with that is that all public universities are represented by the Attorney General's office, so there's an inherent conflict of interest. And in particular, Wazoo has an entire division of Attorney General's staff there. So there's an actual office on the university campus. So that's the first issue that came up. Now, they claim that the contracts unit, which is a non-legal division in the Attorney General's office, handled the request for proposal entirely. The problem is I have emails showing that people outside of that unit were developing the RFP, and they were even sending it to attorney generals in other states like New Jersey for them to look at and provide feedback.
So it kind of seems like from reading through your piece, it looks like Washington State University sort of had the inside track, so to speak, all along the way. Am I reading that correctly?
Yeah, we're going to be looking at more of the Wazoo angle soon, but effectively what happened is the person who was, according to emails that we've obtained, the Wazoo individual who was working on their proposal reached out indirectly to the Attorney General's office to get kind of a time frame for when the RFP was going to be released and how much time they would have to complete it. And someone who was not in the contracts unit, again, who was not supposed to be part of the RFP process, emailed them back and said it gave a time frame, said when it was probably going to be released and how long they would have. And this information was not provided to anyone else, including Bob Scales, because he reached out to them directly and asked the same questions. And they basically told him, you'll know when it's released.
So basically they gave two different answers?
Yes, they gave two different answers to two different individuals. And also the emails show that the Wazoo individual was reaching out indirectly, deliberately to avoid a public records request.
Now, these complaints, did they actually result in any action being taken, or were they ignored, or what's going on there?
Well, that's another interesting part is the complaint was filed with the State Ethics Board, which dismissed the complaint. The problem is the State Ethics Board is staffed by members of the Attorney General's office. So the Attorney General's office investigated the Attorney General's office and said that they did nothing wrong.
Wow, that's an unfortunate series of events.
Yeah. As far as the WAS, just to give people kind of a teaser of what's to come, there was a complaint filed at Wazoo, and an investigation is possible. An investigation may be officially launched in the near future.
So just to make sure I understand this correctly, has Wazoo actually been selected?
It was also the only bidder for the entire project.
I guess that's one way of thinking of government efficiency.
Yeah, I would also note the original version of Senate Bill 5259 would have given Wazoo the contract outright, but it was amended in one of the committees to have it be a competitive bidding process.
Well, I look forward to seeing where this goes. I know the story's gotten a lot of traction. I've seen it all over social media and whatnot, so that must make you feel pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm just giving you a hard time. So anyway, looking forward to see how this plays out. AGO's office might not be, but I think we all are.
Definitely.
Listeners can keep up with this story and more at thecentersquare.com. For TJ Martinell, this is Brett Davis. Please subscribe and thanks for listening.